Guys, in today's video, I just want to elaborate more on my time with the Fujifilm GFX100 Mark II. Took this camera out was to do a portrait session with Luana, and I just wanted to see how this camera works as a portrait photography camera. I'm going to talk about the video features. Get the video started with my portrait photography session. I find the Fujifilm GFX100 Mark II to be a freaking joy for portrait photography. Combine this with the 55mm f1.7 lens. The image quality is fantastic. Now, shooting wide open at f1.7 results in incredibly shallow depth of field, creating some dreamy looking portraits. However, again, nailing focus can be a challenge, especially with such like a razor thin focal point. One notable feature that I appreciate is the camera's 4:3 aspect ratio. It's different from the APS-C ratio of 3:2. It adds an immersive feel when viewing the images through the EVF. The only way I can explain this is if you guys watched Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. He filmed a lot of scenes with the IMAX camera. And during those scenes with the IMAX cameras, you notice that the aspect ratio got bigger at the top and at the bottom. I usually see the IMAX ratio get on when you see the establishing shots in the movie. And as soon as the characters walk into the office or something like that, it goes back to the standard 16:9 aspect ratio. The shots and the aspect ratio of the IMAX just made everything look so immersive. When I was watching that movie, I was just analyzing the screen, and I was just looking at the top and the bottom, see what kind of shots, what kind of things are they fitting into the frame. And it was just so mesmerizing to look at. I was so enthralled by all the IMAX footage that Christopher Nolan got in Oppenheimer. When they got inside again, I felt like that's where the quality dipped. It reverted back to normal cinema cameras, and it didn't look as nice as the IMAX cameras. So switching between the GFX100 Mark II back to my X-T5 feels a lot like that. And I can't help but notice the stark difference. Don't get me wrong, I love the X-T5, and I think the X-T5 is very, very good. However, shooting with the GFX100 Mark II for 4 days and getting very familiar with the camera, only for that camera to be sent back, it does leave a little bit of a mark. And I felt using the X-T5 after the GFX100 Mark II pales in comparison. We got the colors, the sharpness, everything just looks so much better on the GFX100 II, and I can't explain it. There are some drawbacks that I found while using this camera. One of them is the rolling shutter issue. Now, when I was shooting wide open, I have to switch over to electronic shutter to get a faster shutter speed. The mechanical shutter maxes out at 1/4000 of a second, which is not enough for sunny days here with the f1.7 medium format lens. So switching to the electronic shutter is where we can run into problems, and this can lead to warping and jello effects as demonstrated in a few of these photos with the drones and the propeller blades. You can see it appearing very bendy. And there's this other shot of Luana right here. She just looks really distorted, and that's because when I was using that camera, I just whipped it really fast and took a picture of her, and then that could cause some of the warping effects. So if you're going to use this, make sure you stand completely still and don't have anything fast-paced moving across the frame. Despite that, the overall shooting experience for the portrait session was really, really good. The following day, I decided to put the Fujifilm GFX100 II to test by shooting some B-roll for my YouTube channel, and then doing some product photography for the backpack as well. And I must say, I'm genuinely impressed with some of the shots produced by this medium format camera, especially for the product shots that I took. The unique 3D pop that it achieves thanks to the combination of the medium format sensor and the f1.7 lens. Man, it just stands out, man. Some of you guys don't think the medium format look exists. You guys just think it's an urban myth. But let me reassure you that it's real, guys. It's real. With a 4:3 sensor, you can capture more in frame than the standard 3:2 Fuji crop. When I'm talking about the medium format look, I'm also talking about the medium format sensor, the aspect ratio with the beautiful shallow depth of field. Honestly, it just takes your images to the next level. You also have to factor stuff in the dynamic range. It's because of the dynamic range, you're going to get a nice smooth highlight, roll off, fall off, and it just makes everything look so beautiful on a medium format camera. And I feel all that combined is what I think of when I think of a medium format look. However, I'm a bit disappointed that the GFX100 II lacks an open gate feature. Having that extra real estate would be so awesome to have. it would have made the GFX100ii like a baby IMAX. And considering the investment in this camera, it feels like a missed opportunity not to include it in this version. So shooting in 4K restricts you to the 16:9 aspect ratio, which can be limiting. For these shots, I filmed in 4K 60, and the autofocusing can be challenging sometimes while filming, especially at 1.7, because again, focal plane is just so razor thin, it's hard to nail focus. Because of the lens as well, it just keeps moving, it just keeps hunting in and out. So again, this is going to be dependent on the lens that you choose to film with. Another notable detail is the F2's native ISO on the GFX is ISO 800. The Fujifilm X-H2S is at ISO 1250, and the X-H2 and the X-T5 is at ISO 1000. Now I didn't explore all the settings because, you know, I only had it for like 3 or 4 days. My focus for this entire video shoot was just shoot everything on 4K 60 so I can slow it down on my timeline. And so far, I'm pleased with the results. I just love the look that this camera gives when shooting wide open. It just looks so different from the footage that I've been getting with my, you know, X-H2S and my X-T5. It just looks so good. I also gotta mention the IBIS on this camera is really impressive, and this is likely because of its size and its weight, and you know, making it a solid choice for just video panning and just panning because of how sturdy and weighty it feels. Like, it feels very great. Visions and Media asks, how's the image quality compared to the X-T5 and the Sony A7C II? Dude, this thing is the cream of the crop. I have no words. You need to try the GFX medium format camera to understand what I'm talking about. It's just so fucking good. X-T5 and Sony A7C II just looks like shit after trying the GFX100ii. Video performance, I think it looks good. How does Lightroom handle the files? Now, I shot like, I think I took like 600 shots on the GFX for one of these shoots, and it did bog down my computer a little bit. So another thing to consider if you're gonna make an investment in the GFX line is to get like a spec'd out computer to handle all this file size. Luckily, I have the MacBook M1 Max, so it handled it quite well, but it was stuttering for a little bit. Squirrel Hybrid asks, does it have the fun factor that makes you want to go out and shoot? If not, can you see the GFX ever getting that fun factor? I had a lot of fun using this camera. Filming a little bit, I had fun taking pictures, just seeing everything through the EVF so sharp and clear. It was a lot of fun. Can you see the GFX ever getting that fun factor? I mean, yes, I don't think this camera is meant for fun. I think this camera is meant for work, but I did have a lot of fun. If a GFX was ever going to be made for a fun factor, it would probably be something like a GFX100R if they were to ever make one. Lenses in the GF lines are the fastest in autofocusing, and if you were to buy the GFX100ii and 2 lenses, which one would it be? When I was thinking of buying the GFX100S, the lenses that I want were the GF 80mm f1.7 and the GF 110mm f2. Those 2 lenses are really good for portrait photography. The 80mm with the f1.7, some unique characteristic. It reminds me of a medium format, the XF35mm f1.4. Like the bokeh and the character on that lens just look. It reminds me of the 35. Whereas the GF110 is very sterile, it's very sharp, it's very clinical. So you're gonna get like a very good performing lens, really good for like product photography and portraits. And which lenses in the GF lens are the fastest for autofocusing? So you gotta find one with the linear motors inside. Sam Leonardo asks, I wanna know if it's Fujilicious. Yes, the GFX100ii is Fujilicious, and I am quite upset that I don't get to use it again. So Fujifilm, please send me the GFX100 Mark II again so I can play with it. Let me borrow it for more than 4 days, please. Maybe 2 weeks so I can get like a good, decent review going. But there you have it. This has been my overview of the GFX100 Mark II. Please conduct more research if I haven't answered some of your questions. And again, I only had it for 3 or 4 days, which is not enough to go over everything about this camera. If you want more information about this camera, links to it are down in the description below. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks so